Video cassettes of this program are available for $14.95 each by writing to Video Sig, 1030 East Duane Avenue, Suite C, Sunnyvale, California, 94086, or call 1-800-245-6717. In California, call 1-800-222-2996.
Look at the pretty blue ones.
Hey, Mom, the fish are baby.
Paul, what's this new fish?
Well, look at the extensive development of the barbels, the whiskers there. It's obviously a pimelode cat of some kind.
Mardell Laboratories and Aquarian Food are proud to present Help with the Home Aquarium from Paul Speece, the Aquatic Maestro.
Beautiful, just beautiful. We're looking at SeaWorld's tropical reef tank. And maybe what we're looking at is what you've always thought it looked like down there on the reef. Or maybe you've been fortunate enough to do a little scuba diving and you've seen this firsthand. And maybe this is what you've seen. This is in a living room. Or this. Now you see we have a little change of pace here. We're into freshwater, but just as striking. Or this one. Look at, what is the dominant feature? Those male guppies. Look how they dance. Look at the colors. They're beautiful. Or possibly this one. I see a different flavor in this one. Predominantly plants, but a lush growth. And still another one for you to look at. This empty one. Why are we looking at an empty aquarium? Well, we happen to be in my kitchen living area. Just redid the room here. This room cries for an aquarium. Every room needs an aquarium. I'm going to put one in here. Which one is this that I've set up? Oh, I don't know, maybe 1,000. I have no idea. But I'm anticipating this one like I did every other one. If you've never had an aquarium, I want to convince you that this beautiful, healthy hobby is what you've been waiting for. Not only is it possible, it's very easy for you to do it. And beyond that, there's a true therapeutic value to keeping these fish and just sitting there watching them. Now, you old pros, you know, I'm going to show you a lot of fish here. And you're going to say, oh, sure, baby. I got one just like you got, but it's a lot bigger. I know. I've heard all of them stories before. I'm going to show you some fish that you wished you always had. There's tidbits in there for everybody. And if maybe you had a little bad luck along the way, maybe you retired your aquarium because of a bum experience, well, I'd like to convince you that with the advances that have been made, technologically, in terms of information, equipment, then all of a sudden, this game is easy. This is the first of 13 shows, and it's good to be back. And I want to thank Mardell and Aquarian Foods for providing the opportunity to come back and come into your living room with this exciting adventure. They gave us the major support that made this possible. Television allows me a great opportunity to share with you 45 years of experience. That's why it's so exciting. And we did this before. Some of you old-timers may remember a younger-looking fella doing this. Remember Guppies to Groupers? 78 shows about this game that we're involved in, this hobby. Now we get the opportunity to do it again with an update, because there have been changes, no question about that, and the changes make it a little easier, make it possible for you to enjoy those beautiful aquariums that we saw a little bit earlier. Like to have them, wouldn't you? Okay, Here comes old Paul's formula for success. You ready for this? Maybe you should have a paper and pencil. Might be a good idea all the way through this. You may want to take some notes. But here is the simple formula for success, because some things never change. And I'm going to put fish in the aquarium. Maybe not the ones you were hoping to see right away, but important fish nevertheless. There's one. Here's another one. What do you mean H2OQ? Q is quality. Hang in there a minute, will you? And the third one. This says we've got to learn to feed them right, to take care of their diet. And it says we want to understand the impact of this diet on water quality. That's my formula for water quality, see? So if we understand that one and this one and learn how to mix them right so we don't have a struggle with compatibility, then any one of those aquariums that you saw a little bit ago, or all of them, can be yours. Now, this is a collection of exotic fish by most definitions, but Dr. David Ford, developer of aquarium food, puts a little different meaning to the word exotic.
What is an exotic fish is a fascinating question because it depends on your viewpoint. For example, an ordinary goldfish is known throughout the world, but an ornamental goldfish, the fancy goldfish, may be ordinary in China, but very special to us here in America or in Europe. Also over in Britain, for example, the North American fish are considered exotic fish. Your sunfish, which you consider just an ordinary fish, is a very interesting and even rare fish in Britain. The discus is another example. The South American Indian would probably look on the discus as a food fish. But of course we have special interest in discus both in America and Britain. We even have societies, the British or the American Discus Society. So it's fascinating, and one of the advantages of our hobby, that the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and you can have ordinary or exotic fish according to where you live.
Let's say that you fall in love with one of these exotic beauties, and you say, oh, I gotta have that, I gotta have it. Well, you can't keep it without the help of a lot of people. And the game all starts with the collecting of them. We look into the streams, the tributaries of the Amazon, for instance, in South America. Hop over to Africa, the Stanley Pool, the various rivers there. The Rift Lakes on the eastern part of Africa that give us all the cichlids. Asia, the freshwater game from all of the tropical belt through the world. And of course, the saltwater game. We look at the reefs at Hawaii, Australia, the Indian Ocean, the Philippines, some rather exotic sounding names like the Sea of Cortez, the Red Sea. That's where a lot of the fish come from that we keep. But not all of them come from the wild. Some of them are raised in the fish farms. One direct result of the demand that the hobby has made for fish is the farm that we're at right now. We're in the Tampa, Florida area. This is the first of a number of visits we're going to make to show you this business coming together to serve you. We're at Eckwell Tropical Fish Farm, and we're here at 8 o'clock in the morning seeing the tail end of a shipment that has gone out of this building. How many fish? About 150,000, thank you. Now, Eckwell is working on a daily basis with 80 or 90 different species, but they ship a lot more than that because they get from the other Florida fish farmers. It's a great business, and it's all to support the hobby. Large numbers we're talking here. And if you're going to get, in this hobby, this is what you want. You want these fish coming your way. Like this bag. I don't know what's in here. Let's see. Oh, nice mixed bag of African cichlids. Look at the color. Everything you would want in the way there. But this is part of the process of bringing the hobby to your home. And I guess if you're going to keep these fish, then you need equipment. So you want aquariums? Oh, have I got aquariums for you? I'm at the site of the leading manufacturer in the country. Look behind me, 15s, 20s, 29s, 30s, a real mountain of them. And that's a small part of what's in this building. Now, it's no longer that aquarium of yesterday. You remember that stainless steel one I showed you? No, we've come to the point where these are all glass and silicone, and when you fill them up and light them, it looks like a lit up ice cube. Beautiful. And the furniture that goes with it is just that. Wood stands, well, this look of oak that we can see behind us here, a really neat addition to the home anyplace. And All Glass Aquariums is the name of that leading manufacturer that I spoke of. Now, I know we're making all glass aquariums behind me. All Glass happens to be the name of the company, too. Now, speaking of glass, if you're like me, I'm sure you've butchered a few glass cutting jobs. Well, back here, it's quality control, it's productivity, it's everything that goes into making available to us quality aquariums at the lowest possible cost. And the result of all that productivity, this collection that you're looking at here. I'm in hobbyist heaven when I look around here, and I start with this big guy, 6 feet long, 30 inches high. How big is this? Well, picture it this way. I could lay down in there, and that's walnut finish. Now we've got the look of oak in descending sizes, because after all, we want to have an aquarium to suit everybody's need. Now, how big do you get? Well, you're going to hear me say this again and again. You get as big as you can afford, as big as you have room for. A lot of reasons for that. Looking at a beautiful collection of furniture, really. And that's what this is, the beautiful, healthy hobby. Now, you like rectangular aquariums because that's what the basic shape is here. No, you want something a little different? Come with me. Here's different. Here's the 6-sided aquarium, the hex. What do you like? Well, whether it's this or this is where it all starts, picking out an aquarium. High technology visits the hobby. We're looking over the shoulder of a designer who is working on, obviously, a power filter on his CAD system. We're here at Willinger Brothers, and in the laboratory of Klaus Woltmann, who is the Director of Research and Development, we find this unlikely device. Klaus was faced with measuring the effectiveness of an undergravel filter, and he went about it in this fashion. You're going to like this. This is the output from a water pump. This circulates the water in this system. You can see a common level here in these two compartments, this one and this one. And the only connection between them is in the undergravel filter here and this stem. And yet you notice now that with all this water rushing in, it's all going out that side. Now, if I hook up this air pump and activate this undergravel filter, any water delivered to this side is the result of the activity of the filter. And let's do that. And there we see it. Now with this Whisper 800, I can adjust this and increase the flow. In fact, I can increase it to where as it dumps into the collector down below, you can see we're measuring 200 gallons per hour flow. This simulates your 29-gallon aquarium where you would have 2 stems. Good flow. Now, I wish I had a lot more time, but this sort of wraps up our little quickie tour of the industry. Now let's take some of these things that we've been looking at and put them to work as we continue with the setup. Well, it gives you a feel for the industry that supports this hobby. Certainly not everything, but it gives you, like I say, just an instinct about what goes behind us. Now, we want to get around to putting fish into this aquarium. So before we do that, I'll take down these guys, but I don't want you to forget them. Diet, water quality, get these out of the way here, and finally, mix them up right. Because if you do that kind of stuff properly, that's where the success comes from. So now we come to the aquarium. How did I end up with this aquarium? Well, first of all, I picked it out, this look of oak, all glasses, look of oak, simply because the trim in the room is oak. It matches nicely. How did I get the size? How big is this? Want to take a guess? 65 gallons. Well, I picked it because I wanted some depth. It's 18 inches deep. That gives me a chance to do some landscaping back here. See? For the length, remember one of the things we talked about? You pick an aquarium as big as you have room for. Well, there it is. It fits nicely in there. 4 feet, I checked it. 4 feet wouldn't go in there. This is 3 feet long. And when I got it, it had a label on here. It said 65 gallons. And it had a label inside. It says, this is tempered glass, do not drill it. Well, what could that mean? Oh, that talks about another part of the hobby that we're going to get to later on, about drilling it so it can flow through the bottom of that. It says don't do it with this aquarium. We'll get around to that. So here's my 65-gallon aquarium. You know how big your aquarium is, right? You bought it and they said, okay, 20 gallons, 29, whatever. Maybe you got it at a house sale. How big is it? Is it a matter of curiosity? It might be. I wonder what that guy told me it was 35. I wonder what it really is. I'll tell you a time when it's critical to know what the volume of your aquarium is. And that's when things go wrong. If you're looking in your aquarium and all of a sudden you see that the fish aren't doing too well, and with some help, you diagnose it as this or that, and you come home, and let's say you got Mardell's Maricin 2 or Meroxy or whatever applies to the problem, and you read it, it says 1 drop per gallon. Now, how big is your aquarium that you got at the garage sale? I'll tell you how you figure that out. Very simply, think of this piece of water 1 inch high, 1 inch wide, 1 inch thick as 1 cubic inch. Okay? What we want to figure out is how many of those cubic inches are in here. And the way we do that is by multiplying the length times the width times the height, or the depth here. When you multiply those 3 numbers, you end up with cubic inches. And there happens to be 231 cubic inches in a gallon. So you see, if we take this number that we get by multiplying these 3 numbers together and divide it by 231, get your calculator, easy, it'll tell you how many gallons your aquarium holds. All right, now we know how many gallons it holds. Multiply gallons by 8 1/3, close enough, and that'll tell you how much weight is involved in the water here. One other tip, when you're doctoring the fish, deduct about 1/8 of the volume, because we're going to put about 3 inches of gravel in here very shortly, and that displaces some of the water. So this is my 65-gallon aquarium. When I doctor it, I'm going to doctor it for maybe 58 gallons, something like that, something around in there. Okay, now let's get ready to set this up. How are we going to do it? Well, the first thing that goes in there is an undergravel filter. And this is one of Lee's plates. These knockouts here are for the stems to go in. I'm going to show you that in a second. The important part is these slits. See all of these slits? They dump down into this cavity beneath it. These pegs are to support it because remember now, the gravel's going to go on here. And of course, I would knock one of these out and put a stem in. I'm going to show you that in a minute, but I want to show you what's important here. I'm going to pave the bottom of this aquarium with these plates. Now remember, there would be stems in there in the normal fashion, like this. And I knocked one of these out. Here's the stem with its extension device. And if you want it deeper, because I'll want to come to the top on this aquarium, you can buy the tubing to extend this. But I popped this thing right into here, see? And there it is. Now I pull this up because it slides nicely in that fitting. I turn this at a diagonal to shoot across there, and there we are. Now remind again, there would be 3 of these stems in here. How do they run? We hook them up with air. Here's a Whisper 1000. They got about 10 different models. This one says it's good for anything from 15 to 200 gallons. And with the knob on the top, I can control the amount of air that this pump will deliver. So you get one to suit your aquarium. And I hook it up here, and what's all this about? Quite simply this. I want water to flow through the gravel bed on a continual basis. And these under gravel filter plates make that happen. It's as simple as that. When that happens, the gravel bed is full of good guy bacteria. These good guys take care of some of the waste and contribute greatly to the fish that was swimming here a little bit ago, the old water quality guy. So we want under gravel filters if we're going to put any heavy population in. I knew a guy one time who always said, you don't need under gravel filters. Look at this. And he had one big marine fish in his aquarium, but only one. Sure, if you're only going to put a couple fish in this, you don't need anything in the way of mechanical support. There's a volume to support the couple fish. But if this is going to be a typical aquarium with a lot of population, as it grows and ages, under gravel filter is the success. So now here we are. We're going to go to the store and we're going to say, I need gravel. Get ready for this. There's going to be about 20 different kinds, but I tell you dark. So I'm looking here at black, I'm looking at brown, I'm looking at green. I elected to go with the green, and I washed it up earlier, and I washed it in this. Gentlemen, that's a colander, okay? So you rinse it in that, and to get it ready, and I pour it in here, and I cover the gravel bed. How deep? About 3 inches. Taper it a little bit to the front, and then I'm ready to support these fish. This is a great hobby. Pay attention to the 3 guys I had here on the front. Start understanding these things that support the hobby, and you're going to have a lot of success. You're going to learn a lot. I learned a lot. I'll tell you about learning. When I started this about 45 years ago, I fell in love with my fish, like I described to you, and I said, I gotta have it. So I went and I got an aquarium, one of them kind you saw me out in the garage with. And I took it home, and Mom says, so where are you going to put that? I said, on a coffee table. I didn't have a fancy stand, see? And she says, what if it leaks? I said, they never leak. So I filled it up, and I learned a little bit about that fish. I learned a little bit about water quality, and I learned how to refinish a coffee table. A lot of fun in this hobby. I don't want to refinish any more coffee tables. But if you pay attention to this neat start, pick out the ideas as we go along, I'm telling you that one of those aquariums that we saw at the beginning, or any of them, is yours. And it's easy. Now, when I tell you it's easy, believe that. Believe old Paul. It is easy. And it's beautiful, and it's relaxing. You couldn't ask for anything more. This setup that I'm admiring here, that you're getting a chance to enjoy, has a real mixture of fish. There are a number of different kinds of rainbows in here. A couple of beautiful loaches, a red-tailed shark that's really getting pretty big, a school of rosaceous tetras, some small cichlids, rams, and some of the cribs. A real nice mixture of fish in this aquarium. And easy to keep if you're doing your homework. It's as simple as that. Now, this is the end of this first show, and we're sort of setting up the aquarium, and you say, well, set it up. And I said, no, 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 no. Anybody can hook up these hoses. You can read the box, says do this, do. That's simple. How is simple? It's understanding what's going on that makes for success. And that's what this series is going to be about. When we look in this aquarium, we see a number of elements that require deep understanding. The lighting, for instance, which has changed remarkably. Look at these live plants here. When you like to grow them, look at the water quality, which you assume is good. All of these considerations we're touching on in programs in this series. But I'm not going to show you how to hook up an air hose. Oh, I'll give you some neat tips now and then. That's not a problem. I'll give you a couple right now. Little safety tips. You know, when that air hose is sticking down in your aquarium and the air is bubbling, picture the hose in the water now. It's full of air, right? If the pump shuts off and the water rushes up that tube, if the aquarium's full, like most of us keep them, it could very well pop over, and then what happens? You drain the aquarium onto your rug. Well, we can prevent that. This gadget here is Lee's pump shelf. Now, all I got to do is snap this together, like so, and that hangs on the outside of the aquarium. The pump goes on here, and now that head is about that much instead of what it was when your pump was sitting on the floor, because then it was the depth of the aquarium. Give you another idea to prevent this back siphoning. Here's the air hose that's coming from your pump. Well, before you hook it onto anything, make a little loop like that in it. And put a rubber band around that and let that stick above the aquarium. Now, no power failure or surge of any kind will start that back siphon. It's easy to avoid these things. And as we go on and on with this hobby, not only are we going to get a chance to view some of this beautiful things in the way of plants and reefs and fish and whatever, but we're going to learn some stuff that indeed is going to make this hobby easy.